Welcome to Write With Me. I'm your host, Krissy Nelson. This is the podcast for the one who feels that stirring to write, for the one who knows there's a book inside of them but needs a nudge from a friend to simply begin, for the one who's put pen to paper many times but just can't seem to bring it across the finish line. Whether you're just starting, stuck in the messy middle, or trying to finish strong, I want you to know I'm here with you. Because if I've learned anything in my years of writing and working with authors, it's this. Writers shouldn't write alone. We need community, support, encouragement to keep going. My friend, now is the time for you to write that book. If not now, when? So let's write. In our last episode, we talked about why most people never actually start the book that's inside of them. We talked about that gap between desire and action, the reality that 80% of people say they want to write a book, but only about 3% ever start writing. And of that 3%, only about 1% finish. That's a huge gap. Today, I want to talk about why that gap exists. Because over the years, as I've worked with aspiring writers and authors, I've noticed something. There are a few very common barriers that show up again and again. And it's not talent, it's not intelligence, it's not creativity, it's barriers. Things that quietly hold people back from ever crossing the starting line. And there are three that I see most often. Barrier number one is fear. Barrier number two is self-doubt. And barrier number three is a lack of clarity. Fear says, what will people think? Self-doubt whispers, who am I to write this? And lack of clarity asks, where do I even begin? These three barriers stop more books than anything else. And over the next few episodes, we're going to unpack each one. Because once you recognize what's standing in your way, you can move through it. But today I want to start with the first one, and it's a big one, but it doesn't have to be. Fear. Let's be honest. Writing a book is a vulnerable thing to do. When you write, you are putting your thoughts and your heart on the page, your experiences, your beliefs, your perspective on the world. And at some point, someone else is going to read those words. That can feel exposing. Fear often shows up in ways that we don't even recognize. You sit down to write, and then suddenly you feel distracted. Anybody relate? You check an email, you tidy your desk, you scroll social media, you recognize a drawer that definitely did not need organizing, but does today. It looks like procrastination, but many times underneath procrastination is fear. There's that fear of being seen. There's a fear of criticism. There's a fear of saying something wrong, fear of someone disagreeing with you, fear that people might misunderstand what you meant, and so on and so forth, right? And that fear, it just can run deeper and deeper and deeper, where you start having these internal thoughts and questions. Well, what if I put this out there and people judge me? What if someone I know reads this? What if I regret sharing this part of my story? These fears are incredibly common. In fact, if you're feeling them, it's often a sign that what you're writing about matters, because meaningful work tends to stir resistance. But here's the shift that I often encourage writers to make. You're not writing for everyone. You're writing for someone, one reader. One person who needs what you've lived. One person who's asking the questions that you've already wrestled with. When writers imagine the entire world reading their book, fear can grow. But when you picture one person sitting across from you, someone who desperately needs encouragement, they need insight, someone who might be helped by your experience or your testimony, well, then writing feels less about performance and more about service. You're not trying to impress an audience, you're trying to help a person. And when that shift happens, fear begins to lose its grip. If you knew that your words would help just one person, would you write them? If you knew that someone out there needed the lesson that you've learned, would you be willing to share it? Most writers don't need less fear, they need a stronger sense of purpose, because purpose quiets fear. So this week, I want to give you something simple to pay attention to. The next time you sit down to write, notice what thoughts show up. Do you hear things like, what if it isn't good enough? What if someone disagrees? What if I sound silly? Don't fight those thoughts right away, but notice them and then name them. Because once we see fear clearly, we can start moving past it. Next time, we're going to talk about the second barrier, which is self-doubt. Quiet voice that says, who am I to write this? And we're going to talk about why you might be more qualified to write your book than you even think. Until then, remember this, you're not writing alone. I'll meet you right back here next time with the same invitation to write with me.